Seems that everybody has covered the Donny Hathaway classic this Christmas, and I love it. It is one of my favorite Christmas songs of the season, and to hear Chris Breezy's version of it always makes me smile. Chris Breezy, of course, Chris Brown. He did a nice job, acquitted himself nicely on this particular track. We're going to talk to Christina Jones in a moment, so from one Chris to another. But turn it up, Miles. That's Chris Breezy. Turn that up, man. All right, I got to get from Chris Breezy to Christina Jones, but that sounds awfully good, awfully good. Black Girls Code is a nonprofit organization that focuses on engaging African-American girls and other youth of color with computer programming education to nurture their careers in tech. Its CEO, Christina Jones, joins us now to talk about this and a great deal more. Christina Jones, good to have you on the program. How are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a great honor.
It's a great honor to have you on the program, and I'm glad we have the hour. A lot to unpack in this hour. Let me start with this. I was just talking to Jay Farrell, the wonderful comedian, SNL alum, about the fact that that sometimes in life we have to call things that are not as though they were. Sometimes we have to manifest things. And I'm coming to that point because I said a moment ago that you are in the business of helping African-American girls and other youth with computer programming education to nurture their careers in tech. That assumes that they can manifest careers in tech because, as you well know, the numbers are changing, but nowhere near the level and the pace that they need to change. So let me start by asking a tricky question, perhaps, which is how one goes about dedicating oneself to doing the work that one is doing. That one would be you in this case, when the numbers, as you know, don't necessarily tell the kind of story that would offer a bright light for these young people career-wise.
I love that. Let's get right into it.
Let's get into it, yes.
There is no other option. We have to drive this necessary change today. The fact is, in 2017, the Dell and the Institute of the Future predicted 85% of jobs in 2030 won't have been invented yet. And so, everybody goes like, yeah, that's science fiction. That was 2017. But all you have to do is look at what has been happening in the news just within the past couple of weeks with OpenAI. Mm-hmm. And I challenge anyone to Google and look at the faces who are driving the conversation, the technology that will affect our futures. Not tomorrow, not 20 years from now, but tomorrow and today. And ask yourself, why is there an entire demographic missing from those conversations? And I was just listening to the ad right before I came on, and I was really inspired by, how you're talking about climate is disrupting us. We are being eliminated from the conversation around technology, and we need to get into it. And so I'm starting with girls. Black Girls Code's been around for 11 years now, and they've always had a mission to create access and engagement and opportunity for Black girls to learn about technology. But what we need to do now is accelerate the conversation, enter into the workforce development conversation, and start working to place these girls into technology. The reality is that when you think again about numbers, I'm a data nerd, mm-hmm. is that women of color only make up 15% of those who are earning bachelor's degrees today. But Black women are only 3% of that. What does that mean? It means that we are missing out on access to incredible wealth and an opportunity to change what technology looks like. We need to change the face of technology today. I'll stop. I'm on my soapbox, but I'm pretty fired up about this. So that's why I left a career in film to move into technology, because part of the issue, I believe, is the narrative. We need to change the narrative. Black people do belong in technology.
You ain't got to stop. In fact, we're just getting started, and that's precisely why I do Conversations for the Hour. I host this program every day for 3 full hours, and I love the opportunity to give people an hour. We live in a world where where everything is soundbite. And I have nothing against sound bites. I perfected a soundbite. I know how to give you one. And yet, there's nothing quite like a drill down. I love having an hour to really unpack these sorts of issues, to interrogate these issues. And so you ain't got to stop. As I said, we really just getting started. Her name is Christina Jones. She is the CEO of Black Girls Code. When we come forward, first of all, I love the positive, affirming, declarative nature of the name of the group, Black Girls Code. That's not a question. That's a statement. Black Girls Code. I love the positive, affirmative, as I said, a declarative nature of that statement. And yet, it is not lost on me that for black girls and all the rest of us who are black, we find ourselves deeply entrenched in the consumer space, but not the coding space. Deeply embedded in the consumer space, but not the coding space. So that affirmation notwithstanding, that Black Girls Code, there is some work to do. We'll talk about that work. We'll talk about the career of Christina Jones, why she left film to go into tech. We'll talk about open AI and the future of AI and its impact on us. A great deal to discuss in this hour. Just getting started with Christina Jones on Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfected like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly, we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with SCHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Diane from Michigan, a disabled senior citizen trying to get by. Henry from Florida, a veteran fighting to make ends meet. Elena from Arizona, a mother struggling to feed her daughter. Hi, I'm Connie Britton, and I support Feeding America because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year, like Diane, Henry, and Elena. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event, or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley in dialogue with Christina Jones, who is the CEO of Black Girls Code. I'll get to your backstory in just a moment here, Christina, but what say you about the ways in which we are trying to find the right word here, the ways in which we have chosen to, are mired in, are exploited by being in this consumer space versus the coding space? Take it anywhere you want to take it.
Ooh, that's a lot to unpack. I believe it because I am focused on getting to the root cause of how you go back to Hidden Figures, and we were prominent in technology, and it became super lucrative. Were removed from access, and a lot of it has to do with narrative and storytelling. I believe I don't enjoy talking about the negative so much. The reason I have to right now is because, to your point, we are in a crisis, 3%, right? Why Black girls? Because 3%, we need to drive the change. But we also need to change the conversation that technology is not for us. And one of the things that I do hope can happen from your listeners is that these parents look at their children and see the potential that is there and help encourage them to participate in this opportunity. We just, did a offsite this week, and a lot of the team was talking about generational wealth. And if it's not just because you don't believe me when you talk about the fact that there is a whole demographic missing in the rooms that are coding the technology that supports our everyday living, then think about it from the wealth perspective and the fact that it's not just real estate that is passed down, it's also these opportunities. Our girls, our children deserve to be in these roles that drive generational wealth. And I would also speak to the parents. I'm the CEO of Black Girls Code, yes, and I am focused on 7 to 25. However, there are online learning platforms for you as well. This isn't a conversation about scarcity. This is abundance. The more of us that understand what the opportunity is, the better it is for us as a whole, as a community. Go to Udemy, go to Google, go to, insert technology space here. They offer free online services. Why? Because they need more people to understand how to use the technology. And this is a huge opportunity. And I wish I could scream it from the mountains. I guess I am right now. But access the opportunity. Access the opportunity. I think the conversation needs to be about smart women. There's a distinct lack of Black women in tech as representation for girls to aspire to. I think that any industry should be really mindful about the way that they go about this conversation. There's an agency called the Martin Agency. They did this incredible short. They are retelling fairy tales. And the first one is the website is Now Upon a Time. The first one is about a girl who's studying JavaScript, who uses her technology, her awareness of technology, to help prevent her grandmother from being, a victim of financial fraud. These are the stories that our girls need to see. They need to see themselves as the superheroes they are.
You said a few things now that I want to go back and unpack. The first is your use of the phrase deserve to be. I was just in conversation literally this weekend with someone about the distinction between deserving and earning, deserving and negotiating. One can make an argument that in life we really don't actually get what we deserve. We get what we negotiate. So here you come now after that weekend conversation using this phrase that our girls deserve to be at these tables. I don't mean to get bogged down in semantics, but when you say they deserve to be, what do you mean by that specifically?
We belong in the room. We belong in the room. We belong in the room at scale. The conversations that Shirley Chisholm would not be happy nowadays with a folding chair. That's all I'm going to say. Shirley Chisholm would want to have a full chair at the table so that she could pull up more chairs. That's how the change happens. Me, one person in a technology company talking about this isn't going to drive the scale that we need. Our girls, their parents need to understand that they belong in the room. The parents belong in the room. Yep. But if, for some reason you feel like this ship has sailed you by, and I'm telling you it's not, but at least look at your children and understand that they belong in the room. There's still time to affect change. by being at the table. If you are not at the table when decisions are being made, you are not represented. And so we need to change we have earned our right to be here.
Yeah.
And we deserve to be here, and we should be here. And my focus is on making sure that we understand that. And my work, my whole work, these past 10, 15 years has been really highlighting what I like to call action leadership. I don't like to have the conversation that women aren't breaking the glass ceiling because it gives permission, like no one's broken the glass ceiling. I do want to focus the light on people who are affecting change, creating space for women and people of color to get into technology, like one of our new partners, ServiceNow, who are creating apprenticeship programs and sponsorship to provide the technology, the curriculum, and the training to make sure that our girls have access to the jobs that are out there.
Yeah.
And so I think the Black community feels sometimes that we have to work triple hard. And I'm here to say, go for it today.
Yeah. I thought a moment ago when you started in on that metaphor about the table, that you were going to go a different route. You have likely heard the adage that when it comes to Black folk, if you're not at the table, you're likely on the menu. If you're not at the table, then you are on the menu, which leads me to ask.
You're the product.
There you go. So, which leads me to ask Christina Jones a point blank question. Given that we are not at the table at the scale that we need to be, we'll talk about scale in a moment. I got a question about that, trust and believe. But given that we're not at the table in the tech space, are we on the menu?
Well, you know that we are. You know that we are. You answered that question when you talked about how we are great consumers. We provide all the data. We leverage all the technology, but we're not a part of the creation of the technology. Mm-hmm. And therefore, when you see how we are represented in leadership, you can see how the problem happens. But I also want to give one more. I love metaphors.
Sure.
So let's talk about the table one more time.
Okay.
And the fact that sometimes if you're one of few, there can be a worry about too many people. And I would like to dispel that. We need to have as many people at the table as possible because we need to create more tables. There needs to be more opportunity. The opportunity is limitless. And, philosophically, we've been going through, a wording exercise within the organization at Black Girls Code. And it was, are we talking only about placing, or are we talking about enabling, supporting? Because the reality is it's not just about getting a job at one of these big tech companies. Are there future entrepreneurs that can build a whole new technology company that from the beginning is built with an inclusive mind? Mm-hmm. I had someone ask me before about how I address inclusion when I was in the tech space, and I still am, but when I worked at a tech company, mm-hmm. and I wake up every day and I look at the world through a lens of inclusion. I'm a Black woman. And so we need more of that at these tables.
Sure. I want to talk about the scale that we need. You referenced a moment ago that we are not anywhere near moving at the pace that we need to move at to accomplish, to appropriate the scale that we need. I want to come to that in a moment. Before I do that, though, you also mentioned Hidden Figures earlier in this conversation, a film that we all love, a story that we all came to be just intensely, I think, moved by when we learned about the role that these Black women played inside of NASA. I am curious as to whether or not you have seen any data, and that is to say data inside your organization, Black Girls Code, any empirical evidence anywhere or beyond that suggests that movie did in fact have an awakening, did bring about an awakening, put another way, increased the interest of girls across the country in this particular field.
It started the conversation, but the conversation was not continued. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. So this is where, we have a campaign with Ciara around Build a Beat. Mm-hmm. We will have a campaign coming out with the NBA and Nike. We have an event with Hasbro this weekend. I'm trying to meet the girls where they are. so that they can see themselves today accelerating access to the areas that they love by leveraging technology. You know, coding isn't sitting in a room by yourself writing lines of code, and the way that the future is evolving, it's going to be even less so. So, you know, an ability to have critical thinking and an understanding around how technology can affect outcomes becomes even more important.
Yeah.
So that's what, and the conversations need to continue. They can't just be a movie. And it was a moment of power, but it didn't continue the conversation. And I want us to continue the conversation. Because it's not that was then and this is now.
No, I got it. This link will be easy for you to make. Let me just tee it up, and I'll let you take it and run with it. We were talking earlier about the fact that Black people are in the consumer space, not so much in the coding space, as we need to be. Again, you're doing some great work with Black Girls Code, this nonprofit organization that focuses on engaging African-American girls and other youth of color with computer programming to nurture their careers. And yet, it seems to me that now more than ever, in this particular moment, in this peculiar moment, there's a direct line to be drawn between Black people coding and AI. I've had so many conversations over the last year or two about the ways in which we are being dismissed, we are being disenfranchised, et cetera, if this AI, artificial intelligence, continues to go in the way that it's going. So it seems to me that there's an easy connection to make between the fact that people like us, people who look like us, Black girls and otherwise, Black people, period, need to be coding and what the future of AI is. I think there's a link there. If I'm right, take it and run with it.
No, there's a huge link. We have to be a part of the conversation. You have to go on. You don't need a 4-year computer science degree. There are ways that you can join the conversation and apply to work at companies that are focused on this. You know, there's I've been obsessed with this since 2013 when I was still in film, and I started working to connect to build fandoms. And, you know, how do you build fandoms if you don't have theme parks and all this? I won't bore you with franchise talk that we all know, but our fans lived in the digital space, which meant that I started spending a lot more time in the technology space. What was clear was there was a murmur around the lack of inclusion as this technology was making a comeback again. It's been around for a while, but this time it was accelerating the pace. And I looked around at the conferences where I was. I looked around at the people who were joining the conversation. I looked at how a beauty contest, the only winners were blonde women with blue eyes. And I thought something needs to change today. And at that point, I was lucky enough they created a role for me to, you know, move into the technology building, bridging the gap between tech and creative, because we need to do a better job of storytelling. Hidden Figures, what year did that come out?
You got me on that. It's been a few years. Yeah, it's been a few years now.
When's the next one? Where's the next one that highlights our women as more than objects to look at? And we start looking at ourselves as people who can change the face of tech. There's enough of us here to change. I wish I could. People sometimes don't see themselves in the solution, and the solution is so clear to me. And if you walked in some of the tech buildings that I walk in, I know you do, Tavis, you see what's missing.
Oh, yeah.
You see what's missing, and it's mission critical.
So
we have to do something.
So let me ask this question. Well, I'm looking at my clock. Let me ask this question now. I'll pose it now. We'll continue when we come forward. First of all, Miles, my board op, always gives me information when I don't have it, when I don't know it. So by the way, Hidden Figures came out in 2016. There's your question wasn't rhetorical. It came out in 2016. I take your point. When is the next one? So it's been a few years since it came out. But again, 2016 is the year that amazing film with Taraji P. Henson, just a great cast, Janelle Monáe, and so many others in that great cast. Great film. 2016 though. The question I want to tackle when we come forward is not just the question of scale, but a question. Well, I'll hold it. I'm out of time. When we come forward, we'll continue our conversation with Christina Jones on Tavis Smiley. Stay with us.
Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Alabama, the 4 Decatur police officers who were involved in the fatal shooting of Stephen Perkins back in September are expected to learn their fate with the department sometime this week. That's according to Mayor Tab Bowling, who indicated last week that a decision could be announced at tonight's Decatur City Council meeting at 6 p.m. 2 weeks ago, Police Chief Todd Pinion released a report that concluded police department policies were violated the night the African-American man was killed. For the second time this year, a concert film debuts on top of the weekend box office. Renaissance, a film produced by African-American singer Beyoncé, took in an estimated $21 million, joining Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, in hitting #1 in its opening week. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Grab your crush and head to Sheraton San Diego Hotel and Marina for a boat picnic of champagne and charcuterie in the heart of the harbor. Love is in the air and on the water when you explore your next getaway at crushingonfall.com. That's crushingonfall.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
All of a sudden, the Rams are in the mix for a wild card spot in the NFC playoffs. The Rams beat a very good Cleveland Browns team Sunday at SoFi. They extended their winning streak to 3 and are back at 500 at 6-6. 3 touchdown passes for Matthew Stafford. The Chargers beat New England despite scoring no touchdowns. Big props to the Chargers defense. The Chargers got their first shutout in 6 years. 2 field goals by Cameron Dicker in the second quarter were the only points in the game. The Chargers are 5-7. Congratulations to Florida A&M. They beat Prairie View to win their first SWAC football title. Florida A&M will play Howard on December 16th in the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta. The Celebration Bowl is the Black College Football National Championship game. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. Visit jpmorganchase.com/racial equity and get the tools to help reach your financial goals.
Cyber Monday is Dell's biggest sale of the year. Get limited time deals, free shipping, and huge savings on laptops like the XPS 13, engineered to do it all on the Intel Evo platform. Shop now at Dell.com/deals.
Teachers are dynamic leaders shaping a new generation.
They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. They're skilled experts, discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, leading by example. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org, supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
I'm Scarlett Johansson. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. You can join the movement to end hunger by donating, volunteering, and advocating. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley in conversation with Christina Jones, who's the CEO of Black Girls Code, and I'm delighted to have her on this program. I mentioned Hidden Figures moments ago, that 2016 film that came out. Actually, Christina and I both mentioned it. I mentioned Taraji and Janelle Monáe. I want to make sure I mention Octavia Spencer. Just an amazing cast in that film. Can't run the whole cast, but those 3 come to mind immediately, and just the amazing roles they played. Of course, Octavia Spencer, Academy Award winner in that particular project. You said a couple things I want to come back to now, Christina. One,
Tavis,
yes, sure.
Tavis, can I just give you? I have to tell you.
Sure.
I listen to your show, and your bumpers always get me fired up. But it is really something else to be in conversation with you. Have the bumpers get you fired up, and then refocus. Because I just want to run out and drive this change immediately, because we are unapologetically here.
Yes, we are. And let me just say, since you went there, let me just say that you put a big smile on my face as the curator of those bumpers. Number one, you put a bigger smile, and I'm going to make sure Miles, make sure he gets this clip of what Christina just said. Please do. Ken Smith, our production guy, does those bumpers. He does an amazing job. He's the best in the business, and guys behind the scene never get shouted out. But Ken Smith is the coldest brother on the planet when it comes to curating the sound of a particular show or station. My home station in LA, KBLA Talk 1580, since I'm syndicated across the country. So I am just tickled to know that you appreciate the bumpers. I think a lot of people do, but when people actually say it, it makes the tech people. Speaking of tech, it makes the guys behind the scenes who do the tech very happy. So Miles is happy to hear that. Ken's happy to hear it. I'm happy to hear it. Thank you. You said a moment ago.
They put a battery. They definitely put a battery in my back.
I love it.
Yes. Okay.
I love it. That's what they're supposed to do. So I'm glad the bumpers are working. You said a few moments ago that when you walk into these tech spaces, or you mentioned when I walk in these tech spaces, that you can see it and I can see it. We see what's missing. I'm not naive. Yes. I'm not naive, Christina, in asking this question. But if you can see what's missing, and I can see what's missing, newsflash, they can see what's missing too. They can see it, and yet
Can I
I'm not sure they feel the urgency to address what they don't see.
it's a two-pronged answer.
Okay,
So
give it to me. Give it to me.
so I've been in executive roles for a long time. I'm used to being the only one in the room. I'm not used to being like the only one for floors, but I have been the only one in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens to me, and this is what happens with Black people, because we are such a joyful culture, we are used to being one of few in these spaces. And so when a Black person walks into a room full of white people, they actually don't automatically notice. It's just whatever. The Black person definitely notices. But if a white person walks into a room full of Black people notice their discomfort and immediately move to make sure that they feel welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's point one. And point two is a lot of these companies brag about the fact that 75% of their new hires are from referrals. And so connecting the dots,
Mm-hmm.
you see why we're not there.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers have to change drastically.
Yep.
And that's where some of the work entering into this workforce development conversation, I have someone working with me who used to be a head of belonging. It's a two-way conversation because, a lot of these companies do understand that they do need to make the change, but they don't necessarily know how.
Right.
And so moving aside performative DEI marketing, which drives me insane, we don't need a T-shirt. We need jobs and opportunity.
Which leads me straight to the other question I wanted to ask that you also raised earlier, which is the scale. Your point was, and I take it loud and clear, that we are not moving at the pace at which we need to move to achieve the kind of scale that we need of Black people coding, Black folk not just being consumers, Black girls code, Black people code, any of us coding, all of us coding.
Yep.
We're not moving at the speed we need to approach the scale. What is the scale that we need?
We need to change so HBCU's computer science is not like a number one degree. It should be. In the Ivy League schools, it's right up there with number one and number two. We need to make sure that our children, when they are going to these colleges, are leaning into these opportunities. We need to take advantage of excellent, conferences like Afrotech, which is a recruitment conference to get more Black people into technology. Companies should be supporting and advocating for companies and schools to send their students there. I had an excellent letter from a girl that goes to Yale, and she had never heard of Afrotech. She only heard of it through being a part of the Black Girls Code community. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure that people are not just getting hired in the entry-level positions. There's incredible leaders and executives. We need to come in at the higher levels where you can look around, affect change, and really bring in people intentionally, not a numbers game. It's a quality game also, right? So you need to make sure that the people who are looking out across the board, it's not just a nice to have, it's a business imperative. That's when it changes the game. People talk about multicultural marketing, and, a regular company will give $100 million for a regular marketing campaign, but the multicultural team gets $40,000. I would say that number needs to be flipped, right? Right, but it's what you don't see. They don't get it. They're used to being rewarded for specific key performance indicators, KPIs, and those need to change. There needs to be a change. The change happens when there's more leadership at those tables having the conversations, because a lot of the CEOs of these organizations do want to affect change. It just gets complicated because there's the pipeline conversation, which is not true, but unfortunately is becoming true as we continue to talk about the fact that there's no Black people in tech. We need to talk about people moving into tech and celebrating those achievements and the companies who are driving that change.
When we come forward, I want to use this phrase, pick up on this phrase, or appropriate this phrase that you used moments ago, Christina Jones, and that is that we are a joyful culture. I love that phrase, that description of us as a people, that we are in fact, a joyful culture. I am curious as to what that joyful culture would bring to coding. Everything we do, we bring something to it. And when we bring our thing to it, we put our stank on it, we put our funk on it, it changes the world. We bring our stank and our funk to fashion, and it changes the world. We bring our stank and our funk to music, and it changes the world. Everything we do, when we touch it, it turns to gold. And in many respects, our imprint becomes hegemonic. So that joyful culture that we are, when you bring that joyful culture to coding, what happens? We're talking to Christina Jones, the CEO of Black Girls Code, right now on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on! What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, Black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any Black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment. It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
There are 1,000 ways to say it.
Nope. Knock it off. Shut it down. Dream on. No dice. Give it a rest. Not a chance.
Or just
all text. You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
All right, Christina Jones, you said it. I want you to unpack it for me. What happens when we, Black folk, Black girls or otherwise, bring our joyful culture to coding?
Well, it's not just, in this case, the culture means the relevance. And when you think about the challenges that Black women have with the healthcare system today, a lot of those systems are also run on technology. Mm-hmm. We need to have a voice in these spaces. There's 3 areas that we as a community need to be invested in and aware. And it's 3 areas where we don't opt in enough. And it's around wealth, understanding your wealth and how you can make money work for you. It's around your health, advocating for yourself and not just taking the first answer that a doctor gives you. And it's around technology because it's interconnected to all of them. And once you get into it, you can start seeing how it's affecting outcomes. It is literally life or death that there's more of us in these spaces, so that we can drive this change as the change is occurring in real time. One of the things, a roadblock is, I remember when I moved into tech, my friends were like, that's crazy, I'd quit if they moved me into the tech building. I went there voluntarily. Right? Yeah, exactly. Because they were like, I was doing fun things, and then I'm in the tech building, and like, I went there voluntarily. And everyone should be opting in and at least becoming aware. We have this really fun program on YouTube. It's free, called Code Along. And it was made for high school girls to introduce them to coding, because it is it is addicting when you code something and it turns into something, right? But what was interesting was it wasn't all high schoolers. A lot of the demographic was 18 to 24-year-olds. That means like there's a conversation where we are realizing that we should do something, but then it gets scary. And so for Black Girls Code, we do the one to all, which is, the digital stuff. And then we do the smaller events coming to a city near you. Yeah. And then we do the one-to-one coaching with our code camps, our summer camps, our after-school programming, so that in a community, you can ask the questions, get your, we give you training wheels. And in this case, we are keeping those training wheels on you right through your first job at this point. Yeah. But hopefully you come back and teach others that it's not scary. And you talk about it. It shouldn't. I am a flag flying nerd. Proudly. Proudly.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right?
Own it.
There needs to
own
be.
It. Yeah.
There needs to be more of that. It's not a bad word.
Yeah.
I'm smart.
Yeah.
Like, our girls need to know that being smart is sexy.
Yeah. It is for me. It is for me and most of my male friends. we love smart and sexy. When we come forward, our remaining moments with the smart and sexy Christina Jones, CEO of Black Girls Code, I want to close by asking her about, again, something else she said moments ago, but it hit me. You hear me talk all the time on this program about the fact that sometimes you have to assign yourself. You have to see the need in your community and assign yourself. Sometimes you make yourself a committee of one to do something about it, but it starts with assigning yourself. That's what Christina did. She was very intentional about leaving the creative side, even though her friends laughed at her and said they'd quit if they'd been assigned to the tech building. But she was intentional about it. She assigned herself to this task. And I want to talk about that intentionality when we come forward in our remaining moments with the CEO of Black Girls Code, Christina Jones.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful they saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions because we've got your black. Listen up. If you're one of the more than 100,000 California tenants who were rejected or delayed when applying for COVID rental assistance, you've got a second chance. Under the terms of a new settlement, California's Housing and Community Development Department agreed to audit its past denials. The program ended in March 2022, but the advocacy groups Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, Policy Link, and Strategic Actions for a Just Economy sued the department. According to the coalition's analysis of state data, the department rejected nearly 30% of all applicants. Under the settlement, the department agreed to clear all renters in the pipeline within 6 months. The settlement applies to anyone who sought assistance from the state's Housing is Key program before April 1st, 2022, whose applications is pending or was denied after June 6, 2022. Tenants who have questions about the status of their application can call the hotline at 833-430-2122. That's 833-430-2122. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin Ultra Strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
3 minutes left in this conversation with Christina Jones. Just 3 minutes. Enough time for me to ask Christina, beyond even her work and witness as the CEO of Black Girls Code, just her final thoughts in this conversation, which has been rich, about what it means to assign yourself to the needs of your people, what it means to be intentional. Christina Jones.
Thank you, Tavis. I think you're a walking poster child for this one. It means that you look around and you see the need and you feel it. I was still reflecting on when you asked what we bring to technology as a people. Mm-hmm. It's that cultural relevance, right? We are culture creators, culture drivers, as you said so perfectly earlier. We're visionaries. I like to say I live in the white space, but someone challenged me, and I'm going to be saying this from now on, is I live in the magic space. And what if our girls are living in the magic space? Let's give them access so that they can architect the future that we so desperately need.
That's a beautiful phrase, to architect the future that we so desperately need. Let me ask you, closing here, whether or not you are hopeful about the future that they will architect that we so desperately need.
I am 100% confident that they will. This work, the work that we are, there's a cultural awakening that we do belong. And so let's create those pathways to access so that they can get there quicker.
I love a shortcut. if you can find one to get us there quicker, I love a shortcut. She left her work on the creative side in film and went across the parking lot to the tech building, and I'm glad that she went to the tech building, and she is now the CEO of Black Girls Code, a nonprofit organization that focuses, as I said earlier, on engaging African-American girls and other youth of color with computer programming education to nurture their careers in the tech field, and we are going to claim that for them. Christina Jones, thank you for your work and witness. I enjoyed this conversation immensely. I thank you for your time and wish you a very, very happy holiday season.
Tavis, thank you for the work that you do and have been doing, and thank you for creating the space for this conversation. Thank you. My great delight. Just like that, 3 hours, poof, gone. Back here tomorrow to do it all over again. Got some great conversations coming up the rest of this week, but on this Monday edition, what a great show. All 3 hours and amazing conversations, a series of conversations, I should say, and I enjoyed it immensely. So back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley, and as always, you keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Now here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Alabama, the 4 Decatur police officers